So we've got a big back bend on deck for practice today, which means I like to pull out some extra props. If you have a yoga strap, 2 yoga blocks, or things that substitute for that, they'll come in handy. I would actually love for you to start in a wide-legged seat. So welcome yourself to class by taking a straddle position on your yoga mat. Doesn't have to be super wide, something that's fairly comfortable, but with the legs straight out in a V shape. Flex your feet a bit, point the toes and the knees straight up. Good. Try to sit tall through the spine, and then relax the muscles of the legs a bit. Close the eyes. And to what degree that feels good right off the bat, maybe it's stacking blocks in front so that it's easier. Lean forward on your forearms. It's not playtime, buddy, I'm sorry. So that might be a couple of blocks, just one. Find the height where you can have somewhat of a stretch on the inner thighs, but not overly hard here. Think yin yoga, where we're a little more passive in the posture. Again, allow yourself to just close the eyes and come into your breath. Wiggle your toes a little bit so you know you're not too stiff in the bottom appendages there. Relax around the knees, relax around the thighs. So here we are. For those joining live, it's October 20th, a Wednesday morning. I know a lot of folks enjoy this class on the recording. Glad you're here as well. If you've been practicing regularly in the hub this month, you might be, as I am, a little worn out from so much back bending focus. So I just wanted to start here in this forward fold, the straddle position that's been giving me a lot of relief in between the back bending practices. I very much picked the shape of back extension and upper body strength for this month, coupled with the mantra, be imperfect, because personally that's where I struggle in my practice. I've well documented this. And I'm also quite a perfectionist. I like to put on that good face. And so letting all of that break down a little bit, it's challenging. Today, as I was looking for inspiration to open class, my book landed on these 2 quotes. The first says, I used to have this philosophy of fake it till you make it, and now I just own it. I've long said, fake it till you make it, and that becomes your thing. Own it. And then the second says, it's not healthy to keep a game face on all the time. It's okay to have a meltdown. Even as leaders, the best example we can set is how to recover. Throughout today's practice, own the pose, own the breath, own your experience throughout all of its flaws, all of its imperfections really are perfectly full. Let some deep exhale breaths out through the mouth. Stay as you are for just a bit longer. Probably feeling the intensity a bit more in the stretch in the legs. Let yourself sit with that, be with that. Work within the breath and body, in the mind, to stay for just a little bit longer. We do a lot of back bend, a lot of work in the back bends to strengthen and lengthen the front of the quads. So we're just giving a nice, good release for the inner thighs here to balance that out. All right, and then today you'll slowly pick yourself back up and pull the legs in. Come all the way up to standing, and as you stand up, we'll grab another prop. Grab your strap, scarf, a belt, a towel, all the things work. Something that you can hold in each hand. We know this one, you're just going up and back, and then back forward and down to the hips. Make it easy enough. Don't overly challenge yourself. So have a pretty wide grip, little bend in the elbows. Good. It's like the easy floss. And then today, take the right arm up and take your left hand behind the back and walk the left hand up. Kind of play a little bit back and forth in the floss here. This is not precise. Like what feels good. And then you're going to switch. So the top of the strap and the left hand overhead. Take the right hand, palm open behind your back. Find hold of the strap and just move your arms a little bit up and down. Again, not precise, not worrying about how to do something perfectly right. It's just trying to find some movement. That's all that matters. Hold it in one spot, couple extra breaths. Nice. And then just release the strap down to the side. That's about all we need it for. If you have the 2 yoga blocks, grab them on each end of your mat, top end of the mat. Place them on the highest height. And we're going right into a lunge with the hands on the height of the block. Again, we're trying to make this not precise and lift it enough that it's like super doable. And just shift back and forth, trying to get a whole lot of movement. I'm straightening the back leg as the front knee bends, and then I'm bending the back leg as the front leg straightens. So really trying to find some dynamic room here. Going pretty quickly back and forth. And now do try to find A static stretch with 2 straight legs. Push the back foot flat onto the ground, pyramid pose, hands on those blocks or at the hips, whichever one feels most doable, accessible right now for you. Okay, and then we'll switch sides. So left foot forward, right foot back. You start into that nice full lunge. Good, and then we're just trying to sway forward and back. I end up pulling my stride in a little bit so that I can get a bend of the back knee. If that feels funky to you, don't worry about it. Go for the back leg staying straighter. All right, and then we do want to straighten both legs, pyramid pose on the help of the blocks. The feet can still be hip distance apart. They don't have to come into one lane here. I've got my blocks on the tallest height and I'm on the fingertips trying to get all of the space possible, but with the extra security of hands still on the block. Press the back heel into the earth as much as possible to get a good stretch down into the right calf. All right, and then step both feet to the front of the mat. Use those blocks anytime you want for practice. Partly I get things out so that we'll remember to use them a little bit more often today. But stand in mountain pose at the top of the mat. Have the feet a little distance apart. Give yourself some space to feel. Little tiny bend behind the knees. Choose the hands. You could go palms together, sort of internally focused. I've got my palms turned open towards the front today. Saying, be open, own all of the experience of this movement. Okay, sun salutations. We're all familiar with this movement. Inhale, lift the arms up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Step back to plank. Boop, 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 boop. Lower flat down to the yoga mat. Peel the chest up for cobra. Make that easy cobra here as you get into it, just flowing. Downward facing dog. And then look towards the hands. Make your way forward. It could be 1 step, 10 steps, however you get there. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Stand up, arms to the sky. Palms together, center of the chest. Beautiful. Let's keep going. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Step back to plank. Lower down to the yoga mat. Cobra. Downward facing dog. Look to your hands, move forward, half lift, forward fold, stand up, arms to the sky, palms together, center of the chest. Utkatasana, bend the knees, sit into the thighs, forward fold, inhale, half lift, step back to plank, lower flat to the mat. Easy cobra. Downward facing dog. Now step the right foot forward to your low lunge and pause. So take the time, get into that full stride. Front knee over ankle, fingertips in line with the toes. Take the twist or the revolved lunge here, right hand up to the sky. And then today, for a moment, place the right hand to your right hip. Look down at the floor. We're changing, right foot wider to the side, twisted monkey pose, left knee to the ground. Pull the left heel towards your seat. Quad stretch. Now, right hand back up to the sky. So that same revolved or twisted lunge shape, we've just got back knee down, heel in. Stay there or take the right hand to hold on to the left foot. Right hand to the left foot. And we release. Plank pose. Down to the ground. Remember, we're going for easy or like baby cobra. Just a little lift. Don't push it here. And then downward facing dog. Step the left foot forward to your lunge. Line it up. Left hand high for your revolved lunge. Take the left hand to your hip, look at the mat. Walk the left foot a little more towards the side, set the right knee down. Pull the right heel in. Look back up to the sky, stretch the left hand to the sky. Stay and work there, or take hold of your back foot. Slow release of that back foot. Go to plank pose. Lower down to your mat. Easy baby cobra. Downward facing dog. Hips up and back. Take several breaths. Inhale, look to your hands. Step or jump to the front of the mat. Half lift. Forward fold. Utkatasana, bend the knees, sit into your thighs, extend the arms. Stand all the way up. Palms together. Great center, great intention. Own it. Be full. One more time through this sun salutation. Bend the knees, sit into your thighs. Utkatasana. Exhale, forward fold. Half lift. Step back to plank. Lower to the mat. Nice gentle cobra. Downward facing dog. Step the right foot forward to your low lunge. This time, hands to the waist, come upright in the torso. Lift the arms to the sky, high lunge. You're gonna take the hands behind your head and hug the elbows close into the sides of the head, so you should be able to see your elbows in your peripheral vision. Working with this one all month. Lean back into the hands so that it makes the elbows point more up towards the sky. Really strengthen and stabilize through the back leg so you start to get a little more opening in the upper back. And then take the hands all the way back down. Step through to plank. Lower to the mat. Cobra. Downward facing dog. Step the left foot forward in between the hands. Hands to the waist. Pull the torso up and down. Lift the arms to the sky. And then hands behind the head. I always think of the hands like a pillow that I'm trying to rest back into. A reminder that in these shapes, we can't overly muscle it, not overly strive. You have to kind of lean back and give way a little bit. Get out of your own way. And that's your pose. Okay, lower the hands back down. Step through to plank. Lower, easy cobra. Downward facing dog. Let's finish out this round of sun salutation. Look to the hands. Move to the front of the mat. Half lift. Forward fold. Utkatasana. Stand up. Go back to palms together or mountain pose with the arms down by your side. Close the eyes if that feels safe to you and just kind of take in a couple of breaths. Perhaps thinking about the difference in how you feel after just a few minutes of movement on the mat. Body itself a little warmer, heart rate a little lifted. What does that bring in for you? From here, a couple of balance postures. Open the eyes. We take good old tree pose. Take the right foot onto the left leg. That could stay low or come up higher. Go above or below the knee. Try to actively push the foot into the leg into the foot. Reach the arms overhead as ready. And then try goddess arms today. Bend the elbows. Gentle squeeze of the shoulder blades onto the back. Be kind of soft at the top of the shoulders. Think extension out to the elbows. And then extend the arms straight again. And take the arms and the leg down. Let's try it to the second side. Place the left foot onto your right leg. Or your second side. Same work in the arms, overhead as ready. And a goddess pose. I always feel so like fierce and open in goddess pose. And I end up like squeezing my shoulder blades like crazy. If you're like me, try to soften it out. Just the shape of the pose itself brings such power, you don't have to overdo it. And then we'll release. Arms and leg back down to the ground. Give it a little bit of a shake. Hands to the hips, bend both knees with the feet about hip distance apart. We're doing eagle pose, starting in the legs. I want you to wrap your right leg on top of the left leg. 3 options for that left heel, for the right heel. Keep it out to the side, squeeze it against your leg, or wrap behind the calf. And then arms, it's opposite arm on top. So we're taking the right elbow under the left, and then you hold. Again, 3 options, either to your shoulders, the back, or the front of the hands. Remembering, squeeze in to that central line. And then release the leg and release the arms. Second side again, hands at the hips, bend the knees, sit into the legs. I usually look down just to make balance a little more doable, to get it all set up. Left leg on top of the right, really helping yourself get a pretty high wrap, and then that foot can hang out to the side, squeeze in, or try to tuck behind the calf. Left elbow under this time. Wrap back to the shoulders, back of the palms or front of the palms together. If you can pick the gaze up a little bit to look more straight ahead, I'm looking just past the eye of the elbows. Nice attention to the outer thighs there. Unwrap the legs, unwrap the arms, take the arms all the way up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold, dive down to your toes. Keep your left foot forward, step your right foot back so you come into your lunge. If you're working with your yoga block, grab it, place it on the inside of your foot here. And then we're going down to the forearms. Right forearm, then left forearm. Use any height or no height of the block. In this forearm lunge, the left hip likes to go out to the side. The further you go down in the forearms, try to still square the hip back so that you can rock a little bit forward and back. Everything in that more back and forth plane. So I'm just pulling the back heel more forward and then pushing back, getting in that dynamic range of movement. And then do crawl back up to the hands. Okay, this switches to more of a lateral lunge. So I'm going to face the right long edge of the mat, rotate the back heel out, be on just the heel, pull the toes up, and try to sit lower into the left leg. Skandasana. I also like to use hands on a block more out to the side. I'm sitting low into a squat on the left leg. You can definitely have yourself up higher. So think about where you are in a full malasana squat, and we're not going to sit lower than that here. And then helping hands to get you back into a regular old low lunge. Face around to the short end of the mat. We're not quite done. Warrior two. Spin the back heel down again. Lift your arms up, torso up. Extend the arms in either direction and gaze out over the front fingertips. Good. Let's take some movement here. Side angle pose. And then back to warrior two. Do it 2 more times. Side angle pose. Back to warrior two. Looking nice. 1 more time. Side angle reach. And warrior two. Okay, straighten the left leg, turn the toes parallel to one another. A wide-legged forward fold before we go into the other side. And wherever the hands reach. Here, you could even place the block for a moment underneath the forehead or block under the hands. Okay, look over towards your left foot. Walk the hands towards that left side. And then turn back to the regular old low lunge that we started it all with. And step forward, both feet to the front of the mat. stand up. Inhale, lift the arms to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Second side. So now we should be keeping our right foot forward. Step your left foot back. Bring both hands to the inside of the mat. And we're going down 2 towards forearm lunge. Keep the back leg lifted. Bit of a squeeze through the glutes so that the legs stay really activated as you go down to the forearms. Still keep the right toes, knees straight ahead. We're not trying to turn it out today for this one. And rock a little bit forward and back if possible. And if you were just a little bit higher and that would allow you to rock, go back to a little bit higher. I'd rather you find some movement here than be stuck at the edge of your stretch. Okay, and then walk it back up to the hands. And we're going to Skandasana, that lateral lunge. So we're turning out. Right leg is like a squat leg. Pull the toes off of the ground, and I really use my hands to help lower in here. Hold on to block or something out in front so that you're not falling. Give it a few breaths there. I find that pose to be quite difficult. And then carefully, slowly go back to your low lunge with the back heel lifted, facing the short side of your mat. And this is where we get to go to Warrior Two. Spin the back heel down again. Come upright in the torso, extend the arms out. Gaze out over your right fingertips. Breathe between side angle pose and lifted to Warrior Two. Do it 2 more times. So not spending a lot of time, just really flowing in between the two. Nice. Let's take it 1 more time. Excellent. Cartwheel the hands down around the front foot. Step to the front. Come all the way upright. Lift the arms to the sky. And take that little pause with palms to the chest or down by your side. Tadasana. Close the eyes if it feels safe. From here, we're going into a standing back bend. It's hands behind the head, remembering it's a pillow to slowly lean back into. Elbows close into the ears so you can see your elbows and your peripheral vision. Have a nice bend in both knees. Take it slowly. Elbows move more up towards the sky as you lean the head back. And it's not just the head that's leaning back. You are making an arch with the entire length of the spine. This can be a little bit more dynamic in its movement as well. Do what feels right to you. One more breath in the upright back bend. And then neutral. Exhale, forward fold. And into downward facing dog. Walk your hands more forward, the feet more back. Downward facing dog. Okay, let's focus on the upper body from the mat for a moment. Come forward to plank, lie flat down onto the belly. I'm going to turn my body so that I think you'll be able to see a little bit better. You can stay as is on the length of your mat. So take the hands out wider than your shoulders. On the fingertips, point the elbows up to the sky. We're in spooky season now. This always makes me think of a spider. And I want you to lift up. We're used to doing this for cobra, and gaze just like straight ahead. Feet can be quite wide. I've got them a lot wider than my hips right now. I'm trying not to overly squeeze in the glutes, letting this experience come into a lift of the spine. And then lower it back down. And I want you to place your right forearm on the mat where the fingertips were and do that same lift. So the left hand stays as is. And as you lift, you're gonna lean a little bit towards that right forearm and look over your left shoulder. And then come towards center, lower down, and switch. So then the right fingertips come back up to your spider, and you're down on the left forearm. Push into the left forearm, the right fingertips, lift up. Do let a little bit more of that body weight fall towards the forearm side. And now look over the left shoulder. Slowly, gently come back down, back to both fingertips, and you lift again. Broad, stay with the breath. Okay, and we get to lower down. Now, can you send your arms out to a T shape? Legs come much more together. Keep the left arm out in that T and take the right arm, fingertips back in like you just had it. And we'll roll over the left side. Let the head lie down to the mat and swing the right foot over towards the left. Come back across your center and switch. So then the right hand is flat out, right arm, left fingertips come in, and roll over that right arm. Lay your head down, don't try to lift it up. It's getting an opening through the hips and shoulder at the same time. And then belly back down. This time we're used to this locust pose, palms back, turn hands back, turn the palms up to the sky, and lift everything that we can up off of the mat in locust. And exhale, release. Very nicely done. Press back to child's pose. And then from child's pose, come up to all fours and swing the right foot around. Hands to the front thigh. Lean down and forward into the hips. Take the arms up to the sky. And then lift an inch or two out of the legs so that you can lift even taller through the spine. Keep the length in the spine you just found and send the hips back down and forward. Good. Hands stay up here, or if you like that cloud, hold on, back of the head and lean into it. Be soft enough with yourself that you're not overly trying. Slowly, slowly, slowly through neutral. Forward fold, take the hands down either side of the right foot. And then come around to kneeling. We will get to the other side, but first a bit of a camel pose here. So you're kneeling, hug the elbows back, so don't let the elbows go out to the side. Try to hide them behind your back so that they create a little bit of strength. Push the hands into the low back, right at the top of the hips, and look up to the sky. So just the right hand. Can you lean the hips back far enough to make the right hand only catch the right heel, and left arm up to the sky? So you are weighted a little more towards the right side. And then use that left hand to kind of propel you back up and through your center. Okay. Second side. So if we go through all fours and then swing the left foot around, hands to the front thigh. Same step. So we go all the way kind of down and forward. Where's the capacity allowing in the hips? But then stretch the arms up. If I do only this, personally, I'm like, doesn't feel great in the low back. And so I just lift up about 2 inches in the legs. Stretch maybe 3 inches in the torso. I try to keep all 3 of those inches in the torso as I go lower, back down in the legs. Okay, that's working. Change the hands or don't. Stay strong in the legs, held enough. And then back through neutral spine until it curves over, 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 hands down. Pause for just a moment and then come around to kneeling. And again here, we're trying to squeeze the elbows in behind the back. And I've got a pretty good press of the hands forward into the top of the pelvic crust there, so that I have something to lean back over. My hands can feel a little bit of a glute squeeze there. And then this time I'm leaning enough to the left side just to catch the heel. And then the right hand gets to go up. And if the whole time you're slightly twisted towards the left, totally fine. Owning the posture. It's not perfectly square, and that is perfectly fine. Okay, and then the right hand helps to reach you back up. Come back to all fours and do a little cat and cow. Feel free to shift a little bit more circular, side to side, whatever is working here. Test it out, play with it. No wrong way to move. And then we go back to downward facing dog. For this dog pose, take your feet as wide as your sticky mat now, and short enough that you can get your heels flat down on the yoga mat. So maybe it's something like 3/4 of the way of your typical stride, front to back in down dog. With the heels flat down on the mat, can you think of doing almost more like a cat pose in the back? Press down into the hands to kind of give a lift underneath the shoulders, the armpits. Round the back a little bit more. And then come up to your fingertips and round the back even more. At the same time, lift up on your kneecaps, tone your quads, and walk the fingertips in again. Keep kneecaps lifted, tone in the quads, and walk the fingertips as far as in between the legs as they'll go. Still trying to keep a little bit more of that thought of a cat rounded back. Keeping all of that strength and connection in the legs. Can you go the opposite way in your spine? I'm going to take my hands out like airplane wings. Head long, look just past the toes. Try to look all the way up to the front edge of the mat. Nice long, long spine. Come all the way up, all the way up. Arms overhead, stretch. And then release the arms down by your side and just shake things out a bit. Okay, we're getting towards the really fun stuff here. Again, 2 blocks if possible. I want you to use both of them on the highest height, and these are going to be along the spine. So you're going to sit down onto the mat with 1 block, trying to aim at the very tips of the shoulder blades. If you wear a bra, it's like right where the lower bra line hits usually. And you're leaning back into that. Not always the most comfortable thing. I have 1 block for this purpose that's foam, and I always use the foam block at that level. And then my other block is a cork block, and that goes to the head. And both blocks are on the same height here. Take the hands out, kind of like your airplane wings. Keep the soles of the feet flat. That makes things a little bit more doable. If you're here and looking for a little more challenge, you could go for straighter legs. And again, like this whole class, it's like finding just enough strength and kind of squeeze to hold the shape, but not overly doing. So now I know I'm on those blocks. Nothing's going to happen to me. I try to take a couple of easier breaths. And then nice and slow, just like you set up, take your time to come out. So think head first. Okay, I'm good there. And come all the way back upright. When we have more time together, and when I do this on my own, I'll go through each of the 3 heights of the yoga block. So if that's something like right after practice, when you know you're nice and warm, that you want to try out, please do. But we're gonna move along for today. I'm gonna use the yoga blocks now where my hands are gonna go in a big upward facing bow. I'm gonna place them on the lowest height so they're kind of hanging half on, half off of my yoga mat. In a perfect world, my mat might be like doubly wide, but I can't have them all the way on the mat because then I don't have anywhere to go. So then you lie down, and feel free to watch this first. You lie down with the head just about where those blocks are placed. And the hands, if you go up towards the sky, most of us know this, but you bend the elbows and they're gonna catch so that the thumbs are hanging off of the front of the block, and I'm kind of like halfway onto the block with the palm of the hand. From there, it's just giving me some lift to make it easier. From bridge pose, it's weird, but I'm going to press into those blocks and go to the top of my head, and then I can see the blocks and get an even better hand position. Elbows just barely in my peripheral vision, just like throughout the rest of practice. And it's just giving me a few inches higher to get some space for this full lift. Let's try it together if you haven't already. And if you don't have blocks or don't want to use them, it's just hands flat down on the yoga mat. And be good to yourself as we go along here. All right, so place the blocks, place the hands, And you can think wider rather than more narrow with all of this. And then bridge pose in the legs. So you're going to press down into the feet, lift the hips before you do anything in the upper body. Once you have the hips lifted, a little squeeze in those glutes to protect you. Try to press the hands into the blocks to give a full lift of the head up and then the head down. Reorganize hands as needed. Again, see those elbows in your peripheral vision and press through to get you lifted. Squeeze the glutes. Try to transfer weight into the legs. It's a harder position to teach online. Come all the way down. It is one of those that once we start adding the props can be really helpful to have somebody there, right, to see. Release, let the arms go down by your side. Take it in for a moment. So I do want you to try it 2 more times so that you've done 3 of these big back bends. You can go for it on your own. You can decide time 2 and 3 is going to be a really steady bridge pose for me. If you have a question, this is a good time to ask it. But go for number 2 in your back bend. The other thing that I do in my personal practice when I'm working with the blocks is often put them against a wall so that they can't shift around at all once they're there. Remember, getting the weight into the legs can be quite beneficial. Yeah, and just really circle out through the wrist. Give yourself time in between. Good, and then try to pull your chest through closer to the blocks so that the arms go straighter too. Nice. All right, let's all move on to back bend number 3. So you can give that big one a go. If you did 2 with the blocks and got up, maybe you want to set the blocks aside and see what happens without them the last time around. The other thing I want you to think about is the willingness to allow your feet, your hands, your whole stance to be a little bit wider, take up some space. If you want to turn out the toes a little bit, just make sure the knees and hips turn out at that same rate and see how that works for you. I've taken a lot of my yoga instruction, my asana and alignment instruction from the Light on Yoga by BKS Iyengar book. I talk about this from time to time. His body is actually nothing like mine. Slimmer hips, male format with really long limbs. He has incredibly long arms. So yes, he can keep his feet parallel. He can keep a narrower stance. But how much does that really work for me, for you? Be okay with making some adjustments, playing with it so that you are not faking it, you are owning it. And out of those back bends, then find something that feels nice next. I'm taking a supine twist, knees over towards the right side to start. You can do exactly this with me, or you can choose something else. Kind of check in. How are you feeling? What do you need next? you're in a one-sided pose, do the other side here. Great thought around that mantra of be imperfect is more of like try enough things to know what really is perfect for you. Come back into your center, lying down on your back. Cross the right ankle over your left thigh, point the knee out to the side and pull the left leg closer. You can thread the arms through here. Even take a reclined pigeon pose if you want to hold on to that right leg and extend the left leg out. And then switch sides. With both feet down to the ground comfortably, lift yourself back to a seated position and stretch the legs straight out in front. Flex the feet, toes, knees up to the sky, fold over. Unwind to your final pose of stillness. If that unwinding means one more pose, great. If it just means shifting around until you find your stillness, great. I'm going to sit up. You're welcome to lie back, whatever you want. Allow yourself these 2 minutes to be still in body, be still in mind as much as possible. Friends, slowly take your time to come back to a seated position. I'd love to close our practice, our time together today in the chant of Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Om being the primordial sound of beginning and cycle. And as we sing Shanti, place the hands to the forehead. The first Shanti, or peace, is a prayer and intention for a peaceful mind. You move to the lips, prayer intention for peace in your speech. And then the hands come to the heart, a prayer and intention for a peaceful heart. Another Om at the end to continue the cycle. Join along with me, listen. Feel free to tune it out as well. Here we are. Breath out. Take a breath in. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thou in fullest of gratitude for showing up in all your perfectly imperfect ways. Thank you. Namaste. All right, everybody.